I remember I was in Jordan Hall, which is the building of New England Conservatory where I've been studying the last 6 years. And I was walking down the hallway and I got a New York caller ID phone call. And something told me it was important. I'm not particularly sure what told me that, but I picked up the phone and, the Avery Fisher Career Grant is something growing up as a kid I heard a lot about. And it wasn't ever something I even conceived or could imagine for myself, so it's an unbelievable honor to be a part of this. When I get asked the question usually about how I started with violin, I usually kick myself because I wish I had an answer such as I listened to a recording and I fell in love with music, but the funny thing was my mom actually just kind of forced me to practice a lot. She forced the violin in my hand, and it was something that I actually discovered as I went along later in my life, and for that reason I actually think I'm super grateful because the love for music kind of grew organically as I developed. Once I had the space for it and I made that choice to fully go into music, really at the juncture between high school and college was that point at which I made that transition from music being, something that was maybe even a hobby, I would go so far as to say, but in some ways an interest into a full-on passion. As a result, I think it's been enriching for me now because I've gotten to a point where I felt like I had the full autonomy to make that choice. I would say my primary teachers were some of the most inspiring people in my life, certainly, in encouraging me to pursue music. I think my family was a huge part of that as well. My parents were not full-time musicians. They loved music. They had some music in their background. My mom was a pianist in some regards, and then my dad minored in music. Them enjoying music, them wanting me to pursue it as far as I could. In addition to them not actually being full-time musicians, it didn't give me any kind of pressure to do so, but I definitely looked at my parents, certainly as huge forces in my life for guiding me and my choices with investing in music. And my older sister actually is a violist as well. She's in the New York Philharmonic, so my family has been certainly the steering rod for me throughout my life. The instrument I've had the privilege of playing on the last nearly 2 years now is a violin made by one of the greatest makers, Antonio Stradivari, from 1699, titled the Lady Tenant, as well as the bow, which I've been equally crazy about, is made by Jean-Marie Persois in the 1830s, and both of them are in generous loan to me through the Stradivari Society, Bainin Fushi, and the Mary B. Galvin Foundation. It's a tricky thing to figure out what instrument can work for you because the amazing thing about fantastic instruments is that they also morph to you and you end up morphing to them in a very weird way. It sounds a little bit strange to say that about, a wooden box or an inanimate object, but when I first had the privilege of playing on this instrument, it actually wasn't a violin that felt comfortable from first playing through. So it took me months and months and months of working with it every single day, and I actually learned if I do this slight combination of pressure and speed, I can get this kind of sound. And the violin also changed a lot in that time too. And so they're able to also shift to your maneuvers as well. So there's an amazing symbiotic relationship that goes both ways. Not only do I give something to it, but it brings something to me. My amazing friend and wonderful collaborator Chelsea Wong and I will be performing the final movement from Saint-Saëns' first violin and piano sonata in D minor. This final movement is broken up into two parts. The first part is a kind of fleeting scherzando. It's full of playfulness, mysticism, and when I'm performing it, I kind of get these very colorful but veiled images as they pass by. And the final part, the second part of the final movement, is full-on exuberance, joy. It's rich with virtuosity, and a big part of the reason why I picked this particular movement is not only I felt these two parts span the full range of the violin, from colors and emotions to images, but also in conjunction, I think that they encapsulate the whole feeling and energy of being a part of the Avery Fisher family, which is just full-on joy. To share this with my amazing collaborator Chelsea, with my family, with friends, it's basically a reminder that me being here is really the result of a whole community of people, a whole village of people who invested in me and believed in me for me to be here. So I think that this movement just perfectly reflects that enormous feeling of gratitude, generosity, and an exuberance that I think this whole event is all about. As I mentioned before, I'm at a juncture now where I'm transitioning from school to now trying to become a full-time freelancer. I'll graduate in May with my master's degree, and having the Avery Fisher Career Grant as that safety net, that feeling of security, not only monetarily, but just in the support and validation and confidence it instills in anyone, I feel far more equipped to forge out. I'm gonna be moving out of Boston. I'm gonna be moving to somewhere else, either overseas, maybe to here in New York, in addition to just the mentality of having to be kind of in a way on my own, not being a part of an institution. It's a little bit scary, and I think having that kind of support and network around you that makes you feel that you have those outlets is not only it's an honor, but it's incredibly relieving too, to be a part of that. So it's titled The Lady Tennant because there was a man named Charles Tennant who purchased the instrument in the beginning of the 20th century. I'm gonna say around 1910-ish, and he purchased this for his wife. And so they titled The Lady Tennant because it was a gift to his wife.